This is the only tips and tricks video you'll need for XDefiant. I'll be splitting the tips into sections, so check out the timestamps for each. If you do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to not miss any more XDefiant content. So starting off with the gameplay portion, my number one tip is mobility. Mobility is the most important feature of XDefiant. Whether it's during a gunfight or just traversing the map, you move fast depending on what weapon you are holding. When holding a pistol versus an LMG, you will be moving considerably faster with your pistol. Some weapons such as the SMGs will naturally have a faster mobility than guns like the LMG, snipers and ARs. You could build your loadouts to focus more on mobility, but this may weaken the weapon's DPS overall. So I recommend swapping to your pistol off spawn, as this will give you the most movement speed possible. For tip number 2, speaking about movement, here is a way to guarantee you win more gunfights. Aiming down sights after sprinting is slow in XDefiant, but did you know there's a way to almost completely remove the delay when trying to ADS from a sprint? And that is going to be to pair your sprint with a slide and jump before ADSing. If you do compare them side by side, you can see there is a significant difference in the sprint to fire speed after performing this movement. I do recommend going into practice mode first and giving it a try. Tip number 3 is something a lot of us have picked up from our time playing Call of Duty, and that is to start your close quarter gunfights by hip firing. On average, it probably takes anywhere from 3 to 5 bullets to kill depending on the gun you're using and where you hit the opponent. With most gunfights being close, you only kill your opponent by a bullet or 2 anyway. To make sure you land a few bullets first, you should start all your close encounters by hip firing before you begin the ADS. Even with the less accurate shots, if you manage to land a bullet before the enemy can even aim down sight, this will greatly improve your odds of winning the exchange. And in the fights where you have the time, you can pair this with tip number 2, hip firing while sliding and jumping, and by the time you ADS, you could have the enemy already on half HP. Tip number 4 is learning to strafe during your gunfights. With a nerf coming to jump spamming very soon, the meta may just become strafing during your fights. There is an obvious positive to strafing. Being a moving target makes it harder to get shot, but it will also help controller players with their aim assist. You see, games like XDefiant have this thing called rotational aim assist. What this does is it basically gives you a stronger aim assist when you're moving your left stick. Whether you're moving it left, right, front or back, as long as you're moving your left stick, you'll be given stronger aim assist. You will notice a stronger aim assist depending on what aim type you have. Stick around to the settings portion of the video where I explain the 3 different types of aim assist and which one you should be using for your playstyle. For tip number 5, this will help you combat one of the most annoying abilities in all of XDefiant, and that is the spider bot from DedSec. This can be one of the most annoying things to face. Not only does it stun you, but it also deals damage over time. There are a few ways in which you can combat these, but one far outranks the others. When the spider bot latches onto your face, you can aim straight down and shoot at your feet. This will destroy the bot almost instantly. You can also melee the bot when it's jumping towards you, or try shooting it while it's running on the ground. But out of these 3, aiming straight down and firing is the fastest way to destroy them. Also, don't forget that you can also shoot off the bots if they're on your teammates. I see a lot of players ignoring their teammates being attacked, but it only takes 2 bullets from an AR to destroy it. For tip number 6, when looking at your minimap, you will notice that the red dot can show up in 2 separate ways. One is the standard red dot. If it is fully red, it will show players on the same height as you. If this red dot is hollowed, it means that they're either above or below you. You can notice this by the way the red dot looks. This is something a lot of people seem to forget, but you should be definitely keeping this in mind when you're playing. This will help locate enemies if they're above or below. Depending on what map and where you're standing, you can make an educated guess as where the enemies are. And for tip number 7, learn the spawn points for each map. Spawns in XDefiant seem to be very hit or miss depending on the map and game modes. Learning these spawns will help you set yourself up for success. You can predict where the enemies will be spawning by looking at your minimap and seeing where your teammates are spawning. For the most part, if you or your teammates push an enemy spawn too hard, they will flip, meaning enemies will be spawning on the opposite side of the map. To stop this from happening, you'll need to keep a safe distance from where the enemies are spawning. Depending on your loadout, there is a few different ways of doing this. If you're an AR player, the best way to do this is to hold a heady or a elevated position on the enemy, usually in an area where they'll be funneling out. This will make it harder for the enemy to push you, resulting in free kills. Usually this funnel area should be just outside the spawn zone. For the SMG players, I would try maneuvering around the outside of their spawn, looking to pick off enemies from behind as they try to push out of spawn, as they won't be expecting you to be running behind them. For tip number 8 is going to be maximizing your damage. In the other tips we spoke about hip firing and ADS reduction by sliding, but now let's get on to two important things that you need to keep in mind when approaching the gunfights. Firstly, it's going to be your centering. If you watched my last video, you would know all about this. This is where you keep your crosshair at chest to head height at all times. This can help you when you run into them unexpected gunfights. It means you can move your aim less when in a gunfight because you'll be closer to hitting their head or chest anyway, which is good and important for our next part, which is to hit your headshots. The headshot multiplier in XDefiant is huge and can turn a gun from a 5 bullet kill to a 3 bullet kill. Next, here are a few tips I haven't seen anyone really touch on yet. These are some important tips to know. So for tip number 9, did you know that you can shoot through the phantom shield? I have seen a lot of people confused on the counterplay when coming against it. There are two ways that consistently work against the shields. The first way is that you can simply shoot through the top of their shield. There is this slight window that you can shoot through. This is very effective, as if you manage to hit through this window, you will be headshotting the enemy and putting them down in 3 to 4 bullets. Secondly is one I haven't seen people touch on yet, and that is that you can actually melee through the shield. You don't even need to be behind them or to their side. If you just melee the shield, you can kill your opponent. Not sure if this is intended or if it's a glitch, but it works for me every time. For tip number 10, have you seen this pop up at the bottom of your screen? This is the Echelon's intel suit. This tells you that you've been spotted by the enemies. But did you know that this ping is limited, meaning if you see this, then there is an enemy very close. So what should you do in this situation? There's no exact way to know which direction they will be, but once again, using your minimap to see where your teammates are, you might be able to make an educated guess. For tip number 11 is to use your EMP grenade. They are currently one of the best pieces of equipment in the game. EMPs can destroy enemies' abilities instantly. For example, with the Phantom Barrier, they are completely useless when they're hit by an EMP. You can destroy their shield by simply hitting it with an EMP grenade. Most enemies aren't even expecting their shield to be destroyed this easily. On top of that, you can also cancel a Cleaners and the Echelon's ultimates too. I would usually run these every game as my teammates don't seem to want to. For tip number 12, it's going to be jumping onto the objectives with multiple teammates can speed up the capture time. This tip is kind of basic, but for some reason I don't see a lot of people stacking on the sites. Whether it's domination, escort, or zone control, having more than one person capturing the point speeds up the process. Tip number 13 is there are a lot of jump spots in XDefiant, and a lot of people don't seem to even know that they exist. If you're looking at something and wondering is it possible to get up there, if you see a yellow tarp on top of a box, walls, or any object, that means that you can mantle onto it. These will be conveniently placed around the map, and if this video gets over 150 likes, I will make a video dedicated to showing you all the best jump spots in XDefiant. So keep your eyes peeled for any yellow tarps that you see on top of boxes. These usually give you great vantage points and insane headies. For tip number 14 is that you can use your Phantom Barrier to shoot through both ways. I've seen a lot of people getting confused by this. As long as your shield is up, you can shoot through either side, with the enemy's bullets being blocked by both sides. I would recommend placing the barrier in the middle of an occupied zone when using it. With this, you'll be able to swap from side to side and the enemies don't expect it. You can also use this to your vantage point, where there's been times where an enemy has snuck up behind me and started shooting me from behind. You can simply run to the opposite side of your shield and the enemies then can't shoot you. Obviously, EMPs will still be able to destroy your shield out of nowhere, so be sure to keep that in mind if you're using the barrier in an open area. Tip number 15 is to do with the leveling of your guns. I've seen a lot of people in the comment section and on X are not happy with the long hours required to level up your weapons. weapons. It takes 3,500 XP per level, which is about 35 kills. With that being said, the grind can be anywhere from 2 hours to 10 hours to level out your guns to max depending on your skill level. But you do have tokens and double XP weekends. A tip that you should take advantage of right now is that you can get 4 times the amount of XP from stacking your tokens with the double XP weekend. A basic tip that I'd like to do is whenever I see arena pop up on the rotation, I will pop an XP token. This will then allow me to get 4 times the amount of XP per kill on the smaller maps, allowing me to level up my guns even faster. Tip number 16 is to make sure you're running the correct settings. Starting with the aim assist type, be sure to run either reverse S-curve or linear depending on your playstyle. Linear if you're more of an AR main with less movement and a slower sensitivity. I recommend reverse S-curve to the SMG and movement players, and those that need a stronger aim assist when trying to break ankles. For your acceleration speed multiplier, I would recommend putting it on a 2 and lowering your sensitivity. If you've been playing on a 1 or lower, I would highly recommend giving this a shot. You can also adjust your HUD. This will allow you to move stuff like your minimap closer to the middle of your screen, which is going to give you less eye strain when playing for long periods. For your movement, make sure you had your slide behavior set to tap. For your ADS field of view, keep it on consistent, and for your aiming interrupts reload, have it as on. Make sure to copy my settings and let me know what you think. Aiming interrupt reloads is one of my favorite tips in the whole of XDefiant. I have covered it in 2 other videos, so I'm not going to give you the full breakdown. If you want to see the reason for why this is so good, make sure to check out 2 of my other videos. And lastly, for tip 17, it's time to discuss your loadouts. This is something a lot of people overlook when it comes to becoming a better player. Your loadout needs to keep up with the meta. For certain guns, they can become twice as good with just a simple attachment. For the most part, the meta also depends on your playstyle. SMGs and snipers are currently broken, but if you prefer running ARs and SMGs, I would recommend running the ACR, AK, M16, and for the SMGs, the MP7, the Vector, and the P90. I will throw a few loadouts up on screen for you now, but I also have started uploading YouTube shorts of my favorite loadouts. So if you want to keep up to date with the current meta, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the shorts. So that's it for today. Have I missed any important tips? If so, be sure to comment them down below and I'll be covering them in a future video. Thank you so much for the recent support on the video. We're now over 6,000 subscribers. Make sure to check out the other video which is up on screen right now if you haven't seen it already, and I'll see you all in the next video.